reason, many candidates who sympathize with social justice in Palestine and Israel won the nomination and eventually made it to the Congress. So therefore, please look at what happened in the last elections, in the primaries. For the current Congress, we see that AIPAC spent more than $20 million only on candidates in certain states based on their support of Israel. In Maryland, my state, there was a candidate who AIPAC spent $6 million on her to beat her because her position was based on social justice and therefore considered a critic of Israel. Of course, the money they spent bore fruit, but ultimately they spent a lot of money, yet not in all cases did they achieve success. Spending huge amounts of money have impacted the elections to a certain extent, but not as it was thought. I think in the future the game will focus on these primaries more than anything else. Thank you. Now Dr. Mohammad Almasri will talk to us about Palestine in Arab public opinions. Good afternoon. Thank you to the Arab Center and Institute for Palestine Studies. I'll talk about the main trends but let me first say a few words about the Arab indicator, which we carry out in the Arab countries, and we do it. It used to be on annual basis. Now we do it every 2 years, once every 2 years, because it's enough to gauge the directions of public opinion. Very briefly, the Arab indicator takes into account representative samples so that the results would reflect the trends in the public opinion in each country where the survey is conducted. In 2022, about a month ago, we launched the 8th round of the results, and the Arab indicator is the largest public opinion survey conducted in the Arab world through the number of respondents and the number of countries and the number of the variables. We check 470 variables. You see, this slide shows the size of this survey, and 149 surveys. We covered 15 Arab countries, about 7,000 persons conducted, and the equivalent of more than 160 years of work, total hours of work. We covered over 6 million kilometers to reach the households. We visited 389,000 households in the Arab region. These are the numbers of respondents, and the last one in 2022 was 33,300. Why do we do this? We believe that the Arab country requires that the publication of the results will allow the researchers and all those who have an interest, as well as the general public, of course. This is about the survey itself now, and contrary to what Dr. Shibley has said about the United States and the Arab opinion vis-a-vis the Palestinian issue in the Arab world, there is no such division. We ask the people first, do you consider the Palestinian issue as an issue of exclusively Palestinian people or all the Arab people? And the chart shows that the from 2014 until now almost, there is almost unanimity that this is the issue for all Arabs. There are slight changes year to year, but there is almost unanimity that these results are not impacted by the political, economic, or social change which impact the public opinion. Secondly, even after the normalization efforts which we have seen lately and all the promotion that they got, we see that still the Arab public opinion sees that the Palestinian issue is still the issue of all Arabs. This means that there is an established view amongst Arabs in almost every region, which makes people see the Palestinian issue as his own, or he is a partner in it, which he should not leave to the Palestinians only. When we analyze these trends according from different regions, we find that the majority are on agreement that the Palestinian issue is a issue for all Arabs and not just Palestinians. So this is a well-established fact in all Arab countries. When we try to analyze according to the basic changes, basic variables, we will find that there is not much difference between the different age groups or the levels of education or the economic or social situation or between males and females. What is noticed in this question regarding the respondents who said the Palestinian cause is a cause for all Arabs, we find out that the supporters of democracy in the Arab world are in more agreement and unanimity that the Palestinian cause is the cause of all Arabs. And this indicates that people who believe or aspire to democracy find themselves partners in the Palestinian cause more than the opponents of the democratic process. The second indicator is the trends amongst citizens in the Arab world towards recognizing Israel, and from 2011 until now we find that there is almost unanimity on the citizens of the Arab region who are against their country's willingness to recognize Israel. And this semi-unanimity, which is present at the Arab level, it's present even in the countries where their governments had concluded peace treaties with Israel, like Egypt and Jordan and the Palestinian Authority. And this rejection is there and is the subject of agreement amongst Moroccans, Mauritanians, and all the countries where the survey was conducted. Once again, we see that there is an established cultural value upheld by Arab people year after year to reject recognition of Israel. When we analyze this result, as the slide shows, according to the variables, we find that there is not a specific section of society which supports recognition from one group to another. For statistical reasons, from the point of view of gender or economic or social situation of the respondents' family differ. There is no division according to these levels, the levels of the demographic and other types of analysis. We asked those who reject recognition of Israel about the reasons why. What is noticeable here is the absence of cultural or religious reasons for rejecting recognition of Israel. The vast majority of those who reject recognition of Israel focus on issues relating to colonialism, settlement, and the Israeli occupation, and the fact that Israel is an expansionist country seeking hegemony, or because they think the Israeli state deals in a way which amounts to racial discrimination against Arab people and the Arab countries. The citizens of the Arab countries are using the kind of vocabulary which are present in the national liberation movement's discourse, and not as a religious or cultural or civilizational struggle as some may like to depict this struggle to be. Those who support recognition of Israel, despite the small size of this section, and when they give their reasons why they reject this recognition, you'll find that about half of them is basing their position on the fact that maybe if the recognition of Israel can lead to the establishment of a Palestinian state or a just peace. And a just peace in the eyes of the citizens of this part of the world is to end colonialism. They really wondered why we should even ask for the reasons why, because they thought the reasons were self-evident. So therefore, why do they accept or reject the recognition was through the open question formula. We did not give them any multiple choice questions. So each respondent used his or her own words to describe the reasons why And so therefore there is no cultural basis for this refusal or rejection. The, the other indicator, and that is which countries pose the biggest threat or security threat to the Arab countries. The either the majority or the largest bloc all agreed that Israel is the source of the biggest threat, and this is consistent with the reasons that they had given for the question of rejecting Israel, a recognition of Israel, because Israel seeks hegemony. In a nutshell, if we add Israel and the United States together, we'll find that the vast majority of the citizens of the Arab world see that Israel and the United States are the biggest threat to the security of the Arab world.
When we analyzed the trends that showed that Israel constitutes the highest level of threat, we realized that there isn't a difference from a statistical perspective between the responders, irrespective of their educational level or age group, or their own description of the economic and social status of their families. So females were much more confirming than male. They confirmed more that Israel constitutes the highest threat when it comes to national security, and those who are in favor of the democratic system resulted to the conclusion that Israel constitutes a threat to national security. So the assessment of American policy vis-a-vis Palestine. So we tend to analyze the policies of some international regional powers vis-a-vis Palestine. Throughout the years, since 2016, we started posing this particular question, and since then we have found out that there is a consensus amongst the citizens of the region, and they looked at the policies of the United States towards Palestine. So these policies have been described as being negative. 77% was the highest percentage when Trump was voted for. And what does that mean? If the United States of America continue with its policies towards Palestine, so we are going to continue seeing a negative position and opinion from this part of the world towards American policies. And as you can see, the opinion polls, there are no positions against the Americans. There is no anti-Americanisms or anti-America. There is no stance that is against the Americans as a people or as America, but there is a policy or a position against the foreign policy of the United States of America. So once again, we have the different assessments here. So people in need, their assessment is much more negative when they look at the American policies towards Palestine. So when it comes to the Russian policies, most people in the region consider Russian policies as not good towards the Palestinian cause, and this policy was constantly assessed as such. So the same thing applies to the assessment of the Russian policies vis-a-vis Palestine based on the basic variables. And we have to note here that females in the region, women in the region, they consider the policy to be much more negative compared to men in the region. So the assessment of the French policies vis-à-vis Palestine, also it is assessed as being not positive, as being negative towards Palestine. So citizens of the Arab region think that international powers and regional powers, their policies are negative towards the Palestinian cause, which means that Arab citizens are not pleased, are not happy with these policies. And this is due to the fact that the Palestinian cause is their cause as Arab citizens. And if we would like to see a change in the public opinion of the regional and international powers, so there should be a change in the policies of those countries when it comes to how they look at the Palestinian cause. So this is the last slide, which look at the assessment of Turkish policies vis-à-vis Palestine, and the situation is different. There is a division when it comes to the Arab citizens vis-à-vis the policies of Turkey, and there are some changes throughout the years. 42% of Arab citizens think that the policies are negative, as opposed to the rest who think that the policies are positive. So 58% of the population in 2018 thought that the policies were good, as opposed to 34% who thought that the policies of Turkey were negative. So there is a change in the way the Turkish policies are seen by the Arab citizens. So the last question, this is also a question. This is pertaining to the view as to how citizens look at Israel, see Israel. So do you think that the current policies by a number of international powers constitute a threat to the region and the stability of the region? So there is a kind of a consensus when it comes to the public opinion of the Arab world. And here we're talking about 84%. 84% of Arab citizens think that the policies of Israel in the Middle East, these policies constitute a threat to the security and stability of the Middle East. And 74% of the population think that the policies of Israel constitute a threat, are a source of threat when it comes to security and stability of the region. Once again, there aren't huge differences from a statistical perspective between those who consider that Israel threatens the safety and stability of the Middle East. And we have here an observation. Those who are in favor of the democratic system are the ones who confirmed that Israel constitutes a threat to the security and stability of the Middle East. And the groups that are highly educated are the ones that consider that Israel constitutes the highest threat when it comes to the stability and security of the region. Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammad, for this dissection, if we may call it so, of the different Arab opinion trends when it comes to the Palestinian cause. And now I would like to open the